I had my hatchback. I was pretty deep into Hondas back then, and this car came out and I was like, man, that's the one. You know, Laguna Seca blue or red, it just popped, you know what I mean? And it was always kind of that pipe dream. Oh, maybe one day I'll get one. Maybe one day I'll get one.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Automotive Anatomy. Today we have Tony. Tony, thank you so much for making the time for us.
Yeah, man.
This is pretty cool. Funny story, you have a TSX and you have an e46.
Yeah.
I found you through the TSX on the YouTube video. And so when we set up this appointment, I wasn't sure which car you were going to bring, but I didn't really care because I wasn't going to get disappointed either way. So you brought the e46.
Yeah.
So tell us, man, what do you drive?
So it's a 2002 BMW M3. It's the coupe with no sunroof, black interior manual. That's the one I wanted. Bought it about 8 years ago, and it took me a while to find it. You know, I was searching for quite a few months just on the forums, just kind of always digging through Craigslist, and it was always something wrong, or it had a sunroof, or it was not a manual. You know, so I found this one in Michigan, and it was originally a Florida car, and and it happened so fast. Like I saw on the forums, it only been posted a couple of days. I called the guy, you still have it? Yes, the guy, okay, I'm in California. And then I was like, well, you know, who maintains the car, this and that, or the shop down the street. I called the shop. Okay, it's Tony from Eibach. You know, what's up with this M3? He's like, we've seen it for a while. It's solid. You can drive it home if you needed to. You know what I mean? So I bought a one-way ticket to Michigan, bought the car on a Saturday morning, and then I drove it straight back to California. It took me
No issues?
No issues.
Oh.
Yeah, man. It was, you know, every time I turned the car off, like a little bit of like, well, I would get a little nervous, like starting it up again, like, is the starter gonna take a shit on me right now, or like, you know, something gonna happen, you know, because I just got the car, I didn't know anything about it, and like me being a Honda guy for so many years, it was kind of a scary taking that jump to like the next make, you know what I mean, and like not having connections with like BMW parts, or like having somebody you can call, hey, dude. Car's making this funny noise, like what do I do? What do I look for? You know what I mean? So that was all kind of a new learning process for me, which I kind of enjoyed along the way.
So why jump into the BMW and why the e46?
I had always been a huge fan of the M3 when it came out, even the E30 and the E36. But like, you know, I got into Hondas around the late 90s, so the E36 M3 was already out. It was already like, damn, I think it's pretty cool. And then in, you know, 2000, this one came out, and I had my hatchback. I was pretty deep into Hondas back then, and this car came out and I was like, man, that's the one. You know, Laguna Seca blue or red, it just popped, you know what I mean? And it was always kind of that pipe dream. Oh, maybe one day I'll get one. Maybe one day I'll get one, you know? And I got an E36 M3, had it for not very long, I crashed it.
Okay.
Got another one, didn't like it, got rid of it. Got another one, and it wasn't this one, you know what I mean? I had a buddy who had an e46 M3, and I drove it, and it felt so much more like a Honda. You know, I was used to like B18C motors that rev to 8,000 RPM, you know what I mean? A nice linear power, you know what I mean, all the way to 8,000. And the E36 didn't really have that, you know? It revved to like 7,000, 75, and it had tons of torque, and then it just kind of dropped off, you know? But this one, it goes all the way to 8. It made me feel like a Honda, you know what I mean, when I drove it. So that's kind of why I like this one so much. My buddy Brandon had one back in around 2003, and ever since then I drove his. I was like, I gotta get one. I gotta get one day.
The bug started.
Yeah. So it took me a few years. I bought this in 2012. I've had it for 8 years now.
Wow. So then walk me back to 2012. What was your vision for it?
I knew I wanted to do suspension and wheels. You know, at the time I was working at Eibach, so I knew, okay, coilovers, wheels, maybe brakes, just something to have fun with, you know. I had my EG that I was tracking a lot, and that was the track car, so the idea was just to have a nice daily. And I was tracking the EG a lot, more and more, and I kind of like got to a point to where like, okay, it's the B series EG, and I'm not gonna go K series, I'm not gonna go full crazy wide body or crazy aero, but I want to develop more with the driver. So I started kind of tinkering with this thing a little bit on the track. Like I would take it out to open test days, whatever, just to see what it would do. And it was running close to the same lap times as my Civic on like street tires and full interior. And I'm scratching my head. I'm like, you know what? If I could really learn how to drive this thing, I mean, it could be a fun process to like really learn wheel-wheel drive and develop that more as a driver. So at the end of 2013, I decided to like kind of retire the Civic and start driving this more regularly. And I just jumped both feet in. Like, went into Beamer Challenge, like Button Willow, January, and I did the whole season. And it was just like I did a 2-day event and I had a blast. Like, shaving like tenths off my time every time I go on track and like figuring the car out.
That's awesome.
I put this thing in the dirt a lot. It took
Good.
me,
Oh, you
yeah,
yourself,
yeah. So it definitely was a steep learning curve, but it was all worth it in the end. You know, like I enjoyed developing more as a driver with a rear-wheel drive over the Civic.
So tell us a little bit about the front end. A lot of little white marks. I mean,
Yeah.
track the car. You're not lying.
You know what? A lot of people comment on that, and they're like, "Oh, that looks kind of cool, like that patina." I don't know. It's kind of an eyesore to me, but a lot of this came. I think I did a Targa Trophy event about 5 years ago, and it was me and just a bunch of homies, and we all went out, and there was just like nothing but rocks all over Angeli's crest. So we were just, you know, at a decent speed, following each other closely, and it just like pitted the hell out of my car. So yeah, I think the idea one day is to just get like a new bumper for it, some new moldings for it, and kind of just give it a nice little cleanup on the outside, repaint the hood, repaint the bumper, new headlight lenses. But it's mechanically it's where I want it, so I'm happy with it so far.
Okay. So you like the way it is. And tell us about your suspension.
So the suspension, I mean, the main point of suspension would be like the coilovers, right? So I had begged my bosses that I bought to make a multi-pro R2 coilover for the e46 M3. I was running ground controls on it for quite a while, single adjustables, double adjustables, and finally convinced the bosses over there to make the coilover, and we did development on this car, obviously. And so it's got a double adjustable monotube design coilover on there. I messed around with spring rates, but I kind of went with what I had started with on the ground controls. So 600-pound front spring, 700-pound rear spring.
Okay.
Pretty moderate street setup, track setup.
Yeah.
A lot of guys run that for the e46 M3, so I figured it was a good starting point and an apples to apples comparison from the Coney shock to the iBox shock. And our guys hit the nail right on the head with these things, man. These coilovers are awesome. And besides that, I've paired a lot of it with like ground control hardware. So it's got ground control race camera plates up top on the front. I've got a ground control front sway bar, ground control end links. The back, I've got ground control weight jacks, which allow the spring to articulate with the arm movement. So it's like it's a collar system to move the spring up and down, but it's on a pillow ball and it's on a cone. So whenever the arm moves, the spring is staying nice and flat with the suspension arm.
Oh, that's cool.
And then it's got ground controls, monoball, trailing arm bushings back there, Turner solid inner bushings. VAC hooked me up with all the subframe mounting plates and solid bushings for the rear subframe. Ground control hooked me up with adjustable race control arms, so it's got no more bushings back there. It's solid on there. So there's a bunch of different arms that all have bushings back there, but it's all solid now. So there's no rubber back there at all, which makes the car very predictable, and you can really feel what the car is doing at the limit, which is nice. You don't get that flex and all the bushings back there and the car moving around.
How comfortable for street driving though?
You kind of hear some stuff, like if you're on the freeway and you go over a reflector, you'll hear like a crazy thunk, you know, but I mean, I'm not sitting in the car like jarring my head everywhere I'm driving. It's tolerable, you know, and coming from like a lowered Civic with the same spring rates, this is way more tolerable than the EG.
Day and night,
Yeah.
And then tell us about your wheel and tire setup, man.
So I've got the Volk Racing ZE40 wheels on here, and when this wheel first came out, it was, you know, a lot of it was like 5x114 fitments, and I saw that they were going to release it for BMW fitment, so I hit up Eddie, who the Titan 7, but he was at Mac at the time. He said that they had just released them, and he's like, dude, if you want a set, I'll hook you up, and we'll airship them from Japan for you. And
Nice.
it was one of the first sets to hit the US, so I think I put these on the car, and instantly, like, I don't know, no one really cared about the car on silver Apex wheels until I put the ZEs on there. And then I feel like I got a lot of notice with the ZEs. I think the red and the bronze they pop pretty well.
And what are the specs on those?
So it's an 18-inch wheel by 9.5, and the offset's a plus 20, so it's all the way around.
Oh, nice.
And then right now I've got the Yokohama 8008R tires on here now, which are probably one of my favorite street tires. I mean, the longevity, the grip level, everything is great on these.
And then tell us about that tiny little big brake kit that you went with. That's huge. That's
Yeah, Stillen was doing something with the AP Racing, so they came out with these Radical kits, and dude, it's amazing, man. So the front uses a 370 millimeter rotor, the back uses a 360 millimeter rotor, the front caliper is a 6-piston, and the rear is a 4-piston, and dude, they're amazing. I mean, they've got good pad selections. And they actually wear really well too, since the brake is so big. You're not really chewing through rotors and pads very fast. These rotors have seen better days, but these are the rotors that I got with the kit originally. So I've gone through a few sets of track pads.
Wow.
So yeah, next step before getting this on track is get some new rotors and pads in here and new tires.
Did you get the brakes before the wheels or the wheels before the brakes?
I got the brakes after the wheels.
That clearance is tight in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you would be able to fit a 17 in there, or even an OE wheel. I haven't tried the OE wheel yet.
I doubt it. No way.
Yeah, because people will run like OE square wheels front and back, and it looks pretty cool on these cars. But yeah, these brakes are huge.
Those things are massive. That's awesome.
So the interior, I've taken a few things out.
Just a few.
Yeah, just things that I didn't need to make the car lighter. So sound deadening's all removed, carpet's removed, obviously. I've made these custom door panels, so I cut actually my factory door panel all here, which still remains the door handle here, and then just put like a plastic ABS panel over it with a little pull strap. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I saw some guy in Europe that did something similar with like a carbon fiber panel, and I thought it was super cool. But I thought the carbon fiber was a little overkill, so I wanted something a little more subtle. And I found these big plastic ABS panels from a company in San Diego. So I figured I mocked up a template using cardboard, and then I made my cuts and drilled my holes, and I got these just generic little plugs from AutoZone and plugged them in the holes that were already on the door.
Super clean.
Yeah, and the window switches are already on the center console there, so I don't have to worry about rolling up and down my windows. The only thing I'm really losing now is my mirror adjustment, which the seat's fixed, so no one's driving this car but me.
So everything's fixed.
Yeah. So there's no slider on the rail at all. So these are my seat adjustments here, and I mean I've had them in there for the last 5 years, so I know they're not going nowhere.
What kind of seats? Speaking of the seats.
So these are Momo's Lesmo 1 seats. Lesmo 1 is a famous turn at the Monza track in Italy.
Oh.
If you watch Formula 1, they talk about the Lesmos.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Super aggressive seat for street use. I would
Yeah.
say, but
So yeah, I go with Momo's Lesmo 1 seat, both driver and passenger, and then I've got Momo's steering hub and Mod 69 steering wheel, and I was lucky enough to go to Momo myself and pick everything out, like just from the warehouse. and the steering wheel normally came with a gray button, and I remember asking Fabrice, who was there at the time, I'm like, hey, where's your box of like cool horn buttons? He's like, what do you mean cool horn buttons? And the warehouse guy's like, I got you. He's like, showed me a box of all these horn buttons they had, and I was like, oh, that red one right there, I'll take that.
awesome.
And then I've updated the shift boot and e-brake with the competition M3 one, so they come in Alcantara. And then the shift knob is the BMW Motorsport golf ball knob that I got from Bima World. And the idea behind that is it's fully rubber, so when you're racing it in the rain or whatever, it's got grip no matter what, because if you had like something leather or metal, like when it gets wet, if you're driving if you're doing rally racing or something, they wanted that knob to be grippy, so they made it in rubber.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool fact, yeah.
And then the back here, we've got the back seats deleted, and I've added the Auto Power 4-point roll bar with a harness bar, and this one's designed for the non-sunroof M3, so it fits the headliner nice and tight. I mean, it's probably a millimeter of room between the headliner and the bar, which is nice.
And then what kind of harness?
The harnesses are from Crow. It's the normal 6-point harness with the cool little red tabs on there. So it's got the sub harness here, it's got the 2 sub harnesses, and it mounts to a VAC crossbar that goes underneath there. So it's kind of a nice all plug and play built-in system. I didn't really have to drill any holes in my floorboard or nothing like that. Very simple system. I like it a lot.
What are the future plans for the interior?
Future plans for the interior, I think I might go to something a little more street friendly. I kind of want to update the seats with maybe like a Recaro pull position, or maybe a pull on one side and like a Hans on the driver's side. I'm not sure yet. I like the idea of having the side impact safety on the headrest there. It's just finding that balance, you know, because right now my focuses are going to be competing with the TSX on the track, and I want to just enjoy this on the street for a while. It's like my little street rod, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The seats are looking a little dated, so that's kind of why I want to replace them. But I mean, I've been happy with them ever since I got them. I mean, they're comfortable, they hold me in well. I've taken them on long road trips, and yeah, they're great. It should be clean.
You don't track your car. This is way too clean.
Poser.
Poser.
Yeah.
So tell us, Tony, what are we staring at, man? This is pretty cool.
We're staring at a stock M3 engine. I've deleted a few things on it. Normally there's a clutch fan right here. You can see the threads on that water pump pulley there. There's normally a fan shroud right here. I've deleted that. Gave me a nice place to put my shock reservoirs. So these are the reservoirs for my R2 coilovers. So I can do my compression adjustments here, my rebound adjustments here, and you can see the ground control camber plates peeking out into there.
Super easy to adjust stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So the motor's a stock S54 motor. The original motor, I unfortunately put a hole in the block at Willow Springs about 4 years ago. And so this is a replacement. And I got this motor 2 summers ago. And I spent about a year like tearing it down, replacing the rod bearings, going through a bunch of the gaskets and stuff. And the motor was out of the M3, so it was like all the while you're in there type stuff, you know what I mean? Like new motor mounts, new clutch slave cylinder, like I did new steering guibo, a new starter. So a lot of stuff got replaced while the motor was out, and it took me a while to get it back up and running when the motor popped. So it was about down for maybe 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it sat in my garage for a while, and I was kind of bummed. Like it was just a bad timing when the motor popped. But you know, I did my thing. I did save my money, and I got the replacement, and just was patient. You know what I mean? It was a lot of patience just to get this thing back up and running.
No, definitely, yeah.
So having it where it's at now, where I'm actually able to drive it, enjoy it on the street. I mean, that's kind of where I want to keep it for now. You know.
So then, everything's stock. Or what have you upgraded from when?
So there's a couple of things you can see in here. You can see the VAC pulleys. So I've got the water pump pulley there, and there's the alternator pulley down there. So that does increase some horsepower for the motor. It has the TTFS reflash on her too. So that's tuning tech by Frank Smith. Those guys, some East Coast guys that wanted to see me do some faster lap times, and they helped me with a tune.
Fuel still stock?
Yeah, all the fuel stuff is stock. I've got this Beamer World intake elbow on here. And the idea was, you know, I've always kept my motor stock. Even my Hondas have always been pretty stock. At the height of me competing in this car, I had full AFE intake, header, and exhaust. And it was fast. It felt great. But like I said, I had to put the new motor in and go through smog and everything else, so I put everything back to stock. Good. So now it's kind of more of like a street-friendly, how would I say that, spec.
No, yeah.
Street spec.
What are the future plans for this? I mean, you're trying to make it more street-friendly, so I'm assuming no major engine compartment.
Well, so here's the thing. What I ended up doing when I did the motor was I dropped the whole drivetrain, obviously, right? And I thought I was going to have it running within a few months and go right back into Beamer Challenge and Global Time Attack and all that stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm going to delete the AC. So the AC you can see is deleted here. I deleted the AC, that's a good 30, 40 pounds. And I went from a 6-speed trans to the 5-speed trans.
Is it stronger?
The synchros are supposed to be bigger and stronger. The gearing is the same first to fifth. Basically, it just deletes 6th gear and it's lighter.
Okay.
And that comes from the e46 M3, some older e34 5 Series, some e46 non-M coupes and sedans. Came with it like a 325i, but I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Especially in the freeway.
Well, no, I don't mind the gearing or anything because it's just, you know, delete 6th gear, but the shifter does not feel clicky and like how the 6-speed was. I'm missing that. And
I love how we do something to and then we're like, no.
I know. I mean, I'm big on like ergonomics and like how the car feels when I'm driving it. And if I don't feel comfortable with shifting it, then I'm not gonna feel comfortable on track driving it, you know. And so, future plans is to go back to 6-speed, add a header on here of some sort, exhaust, update the seats. And I kind of want to do some more updating to the rear on all the restoration stuff I was doing back there. Some more I still want to do back there to kind of make sure everything's reinforced, check all the spot welds for the floor plates and all that stuff. And eventually, yeah, I mean, the TSX won't be forever. I mean, I'll probably get to a point where we're like, all right, TSX has done its thing. I want to see what the M3 can do.
Alrighty, Tony, thank you so much for making the time and showing us this gorgeous, gorgeous E46.
Yeah, man, appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely love it. So tell us, man, you have any shout outs?
Oh man, there's so many people. Definitely everyone at IBOC. Everyone has had a hand in helping me get this thing together, helped me do an alignment. Greg Cooley, I mean, he, you know, rest in peace. He was my mentor there, and he was the one who really pushed this project through. And I mean, I kind of dedicate this whole build to him, really. Like, he was kind of a second father to me, and he's gone now, and I really, really miss him. So. But yeah, shout out to him and everyone at IBOC, all the guys at Evasive, all the guys at VAC Motorsports, Twan at Platform AG, all the dudes at Yokohama and Falcon have hooked me up with tires over the years. Kyle over at Stillen on the brakes, Eddie at Titan 7, Fabrice from Momo. Probably forgetting some people here, but you know what? Like, I'll see you guys. I appreciate your help. Can't wait to get back on track with this thing.
Cool. Wow, that's awesome. It definitely, the motor does not look like it's a track car, but that's because you spend like hours and hours spinning with the toothbrush. But
yeah, of course. Doesn't everybody?
Yeah, right. Other than that, but thank you so much for making the time. Maybe in the near future we can hit up the TSX as well.
Yeah, for sure.
We can't wait to see this on the track now that you've added a lot more components and obviously you're much more experienced driver. So thank you so much for making the time for us, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm trying to stick around that guy. Feel the tires kind of moving around back there.
Brakes are solid, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, once they're warm, dude, these things are like insane.
Holy shit. I think that's gonna be the fastest I'm ever gonna take that turn. Holy shit. Oh man. This thing just grips.
Yeah, and dude, these tires are really old still too, man. Like, this is nothing. This car is a blast on track. I'll be honest, I'll drive this thing and I'll be like, what TSX sometimes, you know what I